Good evening, everyone. If you'd stand and join me in the pledge to the flag. All right, everyone. I've got one add-on. It's a resolution delegating administrative duties. Let's see here. Public forum for agenda items only.
Better? I had a question, I'll frame as a statement, that I have a concern that tonight you're voting to approve a resolution approving a variety of supervisor reports from November, December, January, and February, and none of them are posted online yet. I understand the clerk is on vacation and not able to put that online. However, I think that it would be prudent for the board to table that vote until it's been made public. I don't even know that the elected members of the board have seen the supervisor reports and all the specifics. My other concern about the agenda is that there's a resolution to accept the court audit performed by 2 council people on February 29th, and I'm just not sure why there is not also an audit of the supervisor reports. As I had mentioned at a previous meeting, that this is something that was pretty regularly done, 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22. 2 council members would be assigned to audit 3 entities, the judge being one, and the town clerk being one, and the supervisor being one, just for that layer of transparency. So I'm hoping that that's something that will be considered. And I assume because it's not on the report that you are not talking about New Leaf, Borrego, or windmills, or wind turbines. And if you are, if you could clarify if that's on the agenda in a way that we're not sure of. So, thank you.
Aaron? Anyone else? Okay. Highway report. Dale.
Evening. The weather has improved some. We seem to be getting a head start on spring work. The men went out 5 times since the last meeting to clear roads. They installed extra lighting in the clerk's office. Moving the water clerk and the zoning officer into the conference room was completed. All parties approve and are happy. Finally, we were able to finish the county line ditch and driveway with Soil and Water's help. Thank you, Katie. Worked in court clerk's office and courtroom. I had the opportunity to attend Advocacy Day in Albany with my peers. The governor has proposed a 10% cut of our CHIPS funding for 2024 preliminary state budget. We spoke to many Assembly and Senate representatives, urging not only to reinstate the funds, but to protect and advance repair of our local infrastructure. We should know of the outcome next month. The department was able to repair 16 unresponsive water meters. There is a new batch and more to accomplish. Thank you to all residents that have responded to the water line survey and the folks that asked for staff to look and locate lines. Thank you. Don't be shy, there's still plenty yet to hear from. We were able to assist the village on locating a water issue for repair. The men continue to service equipment, doing stakeouts, flushing lines, picking up deer that didn't make the trip across the road. With Mother Nature's help, been able to fix shoulder and lawn damage. We will continue the process. And always, the constant stacking of e-waste. With that said, I would like to state, please, no more digging through pallets of product to extract pieces. It won't be tolerated, as we have had pallets of product shift while loading. Thank you, Dale Rutt.
Thank you, Dale. Assessor's report, Julie?
Good evening. Not much to report. I have processed all. Is that me? The office is pretty quiet. Just working on any new sales that have come in, and that's about it.
Thank you. Planning board, Kirk? Try that again, see if it works.
Hello? All right. I think it's up too high for people. All right, we got an application received from Mark Irway for our alternate position. We interviewed him at our last meeting and gave the board our recommendations. And the only other thing that's coming up is we've got a 4-hour training being held at the Hogue Library, on June 11th, I believe, and it'll be put on by the state, 4-hour training. That's it.
For Dan, I know he's gone, did he ask it? No, he didn't? Okay. So no code enforcement or zoning report. Before we get into the resolutions, we received an email and a letter from Borrego. They requested that the review of their application move forward. One of their requests is for the town board to create a wind energy overlay district. Section 597.5 of the town zoning code says that the creation of a wind overlay district requires an application for rezoning. Rezoning is a legislative function of the town board. If the town board wishes to further consider the request to rezone, then one of the members would introduce an amendment to the current zoning law, and then the town would go through the review process. If no town board member introduces an amendment, the rezoning process goes no further, and we would notify Borrego of that. And I can say I am not in favor of considering the rezoning application. Jeffrey?
Not in favor.
Steve?
I'm not in favor of it.
Linda?
I am not in favor of it.
Ed?
Not in favor.
Did you get all that, Pam? I got it for you, don't worry. All right, I'd like to ask the attorney to draft a letter to Borrego that says we are not interested in introducing any rezoning in connection with the Borrego application. Awful sensitive tonight, aren't they? All right, resolution to approve the meeting minutes from February 13th. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh, sorry.
It's carried. A resolution to approve the special meeting February 21st for the highway trailer. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? It's carried. Resolution to approve the town clerk's report for February. Is there a motion?
So moved.
No second.
Steve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? That's carried. Resolution to approve the supervisor's report for November. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
I'd like to table it, according to Mrs. Jones, to put it up before we approve it, so the public can see it.
So, was there a motion and a second? So there was a motion and no second. So you would then make a motion to table it.
I'm gonna make a motion to table it.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have a couple questions. So, just in looking at the two that we do have for November and December,
Mhm.
the ending, on the November report, the ending balance is like $53,000 higher than the starting balance in December. Can you tell me, there's several accounts that are different balances, different starting balances?
Miranda, was there?
I'm just looking at the report that was sent. I guess my other question is, are we still doing this manually, or are we getting it from Williamson, from the software?
Miranda, come up to the, actually, we worked it out with Williamson now. They've gotten everything done. We closing out 23 today. With the help of the accountant in Williamson, we're closing it out. They fixed all the issues with it. Now, there's certain things we have to enter in and pull from other areas, but it's all pretty much automatic now that they're fixing everything.
So it's basically just a push of a button to get this report,
Yes,
as long as everything is in?
yes.
Okay. So for January and February not being done, is that because?
That's the,
That's from the accountant from the auditor. He asked me to start 2024 until he finished the 2022 audit. Okay. He knew that the numbers were rolling forward. Okay. So I said I would review things before we're done. Okay.
So this is all.
No. No.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's carried. Can I get a motion to table the remaining supervisor reports until next month?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. resolution to approve to pay the claims against the town.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
I'm going to abstain because we don't have the revenue and expense report to be able to compare to the invoices, so I'm going to abstain from voting on that one.
Okay. Ed?
I also abstain.
Okay. Jeff, you were yes?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that's carried. Resolution to accept the court audit performed by Councilman Schiffer and Zelini on February 29th. Is there a motion?
I move.
I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
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 Opposed? None, that's carried. Resolution to appoint Mark Irway to the planning board as an alternate. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Resolution pursuant to Town Law Article 3, Section 29, Paragraph 16. Shelby Town Board hereby authorizes delegates town supervisor powers and duties of day-to-day administration and supervision of all town and special district facilities and employees consistent with and furtherance of all state and federal laws applicable thereto, and with any and all collective bargaining agreements, local laws, resolutions, or policies heretofore or hereafter adopted by this town board. Just for information for the audience, this was recommended to be done at the organizational meeting for each town, and we did not do that. So we're doing it tonight. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Ed?
No.
Motion's carried. That was all of that, right? Jason, you want to come up and give a, Jason Foote from, CPL Engineering.
I'll try the microphone. See if it, I'll have to turn it up. So, last year, I came in front of the board, gave a little presentation about District 13, and at that time, the costs were very high. Almost, the amount of grant money that was needed was just, almost unattainable. So we kind of pumped the brakes a little bit and looked at, another project. And one of the things was potentially serving the town of Shelby directly with water from Railton. So this had been looked at previously back in 2020 by a different engineer, and they had looked at that and they came up with a project about a $5.4 million project. They included a ground level water storage tank, a pump station, and some water main along Chestnut Ridge Road. So we wanted to just take another look at that, and a couple things have changed since that time. One of them is the pressure in Royalton is about 20 pounds higher than what they had in their report. And one of the others, the the pressure that's actually in Shelby is slightly lower than what they had expected. So the difference is not as much. Another consideration is the water rates that they had used weren't correct that I saw. So we wanted to look just high level at this point. Is it at all feasible to serve Shelby from Royalton directly? So one of the things we did was we just created a water model, and then last week we came out and we tested, did some fire flow tests in Shelby, in Royalton, to help calibrate the model. You know, just bring it into, you know, just so it's accurate. So at this point, you know, based on our preliminary, you know, evaluation, we think that it is feasible. Improvements would involve Sanderson Road. You'd have to install water main on Sanderson Road, Martin Road between Bigford and Sanderson, Route 31A, from Sanderson to the tank, and then a small stretch on Maple Ridge Road from Saltworks Road to Charles Street. You would need a connection at Johnson Road to their existing system. There's an 8-inch main in Royalton. You would need a connection on West Shelby Road or Chestnut Ridge Road. There'd be a vault there, and then the existing connection would be open on Freeman Road. So, you know, hydraulically, yes, it is feasible. There are some changes in flow. Some of the fire flows are slightly less. Some of them are higher. The pressures. So the pressures are the same. It's, some are lower, some are a little bit higher, only because you're reversing the flow of the water. So the areas that were. See if that makes a difference. Here, take that one. So some areas had lower pressure, some areas had higher pressure, but all in all, they're all still above 50 psi. All the fire flows, according to the model, are all above 500 gallons a minute, which is the minimum you'd want for this type of system. So, you know, where do we go from here? And again, again, preliminary. I mean, we looked at this high level. Our intentions were not to put the full-blown report together. We just really wanted to look high level at the hydraulics to see would it work hydraulically, and based on what we've tested, based on what we've modeled, the answer is I believe that it is, right, in my professional opinion. Now, there's little details, a lot of little details that we need to figure out, but again, you know, if this is something that the town wants to pursue, I think there's, you know, maybe some traction there. So we talked about those improvements that would be needed to make it happen. So I still think that there may be some connections to Medina that are needed to serve certain areas. Again, that would be, you know, in the report that's prepared. You know, we need to figure out what we're doing with the existing tank, the pump station, you know, how that's going to be maintained. We need to maintain water quality. So again, there's a lot of details that we still need to figure out, but again, all in all, I do believe that it works. So the second page that I provided you guys with, you know, is really just a cost estimate of the improvements. But the third page is really just, this is really what, you know, kind of sets it home. So the colored estimate there, the summary, cost estimate summary. So basically we have a total project cost of $3 million, all right? If this first column that I'm looking at, if we just went ahead, bonded the project for 30 years, you'd have an annual payment of $225,000, and based on 37 million gallons of water usage, you'd have a water rate increase of $6.03, which doesn't make sense, right? We're not going to move forward with that. The second column, that it would be obtaining a WIA grant of $1.8 million. So that's a 60% grant, which drops the financed amount. financed over 30 years at 6%, drops the annual debt service to $90,000. Again, based on that same water usage, that would be a $2.41 increase in the water rate. And then the last column would be that same scenario, but at 0% interest, would raise the rate $1.11. So what I did was I wanted to compare what is the water rate now to what it could be. So this blue section is what it is now. So currently, the water rate, it's the notes in the bottom of the page, there's a base rate plus, it kind of the rate decreases as you use more, but all in all, it equates to about $9.03 a thousand, based on the current schedule for the town. So that's obtaining it, purchasing it from the village, with the O&M markup for the town. So each resident, based on 60,000 gallons a year, would be paying about $541 per year. So, assuming that we're not going to, move forward if we don't get grants, if we received a $1.8 million grant in that middle column that I'm showing you, again, approximate purchase rate from Niagara County would be $3.20. Adding in the $2 O&M charge that the town currently has, add in the $2.41 increase to pay for the water main and other upgrades that would be needed, would have a total annual cost of water of $456. So that would be a savings of $84 a year per person. That number grows if you get interest free to $163 per person of a savings, based on doing a $3 million project. So a lot of what ifs. Obviously, we don't have funding. We don't know. But again, to me, it seems very feasible at this point to move forward and, potentially pursue funding.
The state has special funding right now, right? $300 and some million.
Yeah.
What's the cutoff on application for that?
So that application is that application is due June 14th. If you stick to that first agenda page that I had. So the next steps moving forward, again, we would want to continue with our hydraulic analysis, fine tune that, and make sure that that's in order. Finalize the engineering report, which has all the details, cost details, all of that included with the proposed scope of work for all of the improvements. If I touch it. So then once that report gets prepared, we would use that as part of the application for WIA. Like I said, that's a June deadline. We would need to complete an environmental report. We would need to pass a bond resolution and complete seeker for that. So there's still time, but we would need to move fast. So it's really, at this point, it's, we just really wanted to take a high level look at it, just to see if it was worth pursuing. And again, in my opinion, I think it is. Again, there's still details to work out, but.
Jason, on the pink middle column, 320 is paying royalty in 320. $2, that's our cost, our charge to cover costs for the town.
That's your current O&M charge.
What's the proposed water rate increase? 241.
241, yes.
What is that?
Subtracting what, that?
He's trying to understand where you came up with the $2.41.
Yeah, what is that 241? I don't understand what that
Is that
is.
your current markup?
So the $2.41 is the what you would have to increase your water rate regardless of what the rate is. You would have to have a net increase of $2.41 to pay for that amount of $90,000. So that's just generating your revenue based on 37 million gallons.
And that's going to save each taxpayer $85.
Correct. Even though you're increasing, you went from $9.03 down to 320, came up 241. So what is, I didn't total that up, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
$8.61.
So it's actually cheaper.
761.
761.
760.
Sorry, yes, 761.
And in your experience, do we need to charge $2 per 1,000 gallons for our operating costs?
It's really, what do you guys have in your water budget? And again, I left it the same to be
Okay,
conservative.
all right.
Again, if operations goes down, we're not paying electrical bills, it could be adjusted, but just to be conservative, I left it as is.
Now, we're considered like a lower income poverty county, Orleans County. What's our likelihood of,
I think
and I
that-
know you can't,
I mean, I think that's part of it. I think the part of the hardship is showing health and safety, that there's health and safety concerns. Again, switching sources, not switching supplies. Again, I think it's a good candidate. Again, income does come into play, so again, I would think that the town would be a good candidate to get the 0%.
and that would be the third column?
That would be the third.
And that would save $164, it's $163 a year?
That's correct.
And that would be even more if we didn't have to charge $2 for our charges, if we had enough in the water.
Right, and built into that $2 charge is all the flushing, any of the losses there, electrical charges,
Okay.
Paying the operators.
Compare the 2019 MRB compared to what you're doing. What's the difference? Why is it so much less? I mean, inflation's gone crazy. Why would pipes gone up double or more?
You're correct. I mean, the couple of the assumptions that they made, or the data that they used, again, the pressure in Royalton was lower. At the time that they did their fire flows and their analysis, it was a little bit lower. So they've since raised those pressures. Also, factoring in was the difference in the water rates was not the same. So they had used a slightly lower number to start with and a slightly higher number to end with. So, the difference between them was not quite as much. And then some of the just the hydraulic, some of the assumptions on pressures. Again, right now everything currently feeds from the 3 million gallon tank around for the most part. The pressures are high over there on 31A, but then by the time you get out into the system, they go down quite a bit. So, I think that they were assuming a higher hydraulic grade is really basically you take the elevation plus the pressure, come up with a hydraulic grade. That they were maybe making an assumption that the pressures needed to be quite a bit higher. In reality, the pressures coming from Royalton are sufficient to go into the system.
So we don't need a tank, and we don't need pumps.
Based on yes.
This assumption here.
Yes, and again, we just did the fire flows last Thursday, so, we've been crunching numbers. I mean, at this 100,000 foot overview, looking at it, I do not believe you need a tank or a pump station. There's mains are sized properly to give you adequate fire flow. Now, what I would say is worst case scenario, we only serve a portion of the town instead of the whole town. So that could be part of our, as we go through this a little bit more and more in detail, maybe there's still parts that you could leave on the village system. And just it becomes a hybrid of, it's the same water, so there's no issues with changing source, and there's no Flint, Michigan issues like that. It's the same exact water. So it really just comes down to what's going to work hydraulically, and making sure under all scenarios with and I this is part of the fine tuning and the modeling is you start closing valves and moving things in a main break. What happens? Can we cover the town under all those scenarios? That's what I want to make sure of before I go 100%. But again, initially, I think it's looking positive.
Now, you say you'll have enough pressure to go all the way to the east end of the town in East Shelby? I mean,
with making the improvements, going Sanderson Road and then more or less looping Martin Road, yes. Now, again, I still want to analyze that a little closer, but, you know, based on our initial analysis, it's sufficient. So,
The loop system from Martin Road would go down what, Waterworks Road, or?
so we didn't have that. We were just looping basically Bigford to the end of the main in Shelby Center, and then heading down Sanderson all the way to 31, and then down 31 to the tank. So nothing on Waterworks and nothing on Munzel at this point. Just really just filling in the center where there's, you know, where there is no main.
Cut off. It's gonna make a loop. It's gonna cut off dumping and flushing. It's gonna save us money that way.
Yeah, so you would eliminate a dead end at Bigford. You'd eliminate, you know, dead end there at Shelby Center on the east side of Shelby Center. And again, you could potentially serve, you know, additional homes in the future. Is one of the advantages. And by looping it, now you got 2 feeds heading to the east side of the town. Otherwise, you basically just had Fletcher Chapel going all the way over to East Shelby Road and up. So, you know, having 2 feeds across the town is key.
Now, pricing on water, you're getting water from 2 different sources and 2 different prices. How would the residents, you know, how are you gonna?
So good question. That would have to be, you'd have to factor that in. So, you know, the estimate that I showed you here is 100%. You know, if it's 50-50, the savings is going to be different. You know, potentially there's a hybrid. You know, there's an equal rate where we're just paying, the residents in Shelby are paying the same regardless of the source, and it's just worked out in the, you know, in-house, you know, to cover that. So somebody's paying a little bit more, somebody's paying a little bit less, but there's an average rate, you know, based on the usage. Again, it's going to be determined, you know, wherever that line ends up being of, we can supply this from Shelby, or this from Royalton, this from Medina.
The middle scenario here, that's kind of like best case without doing any additional research. So as you if you get into the project and start doing more, it wouldn't get better than that.
So the middle one, the only difference is you have a 6% interest rate. The right-hand column is 0% interest. That's the only difference between the two. That's assuming that we get the 60% WIA grant.
Okay, so I'm going to go back, I guess, to the $3.1 million. Is that like, it wouldn't, your research probably would not get us lower than that. It might add more on.
Correct. Again, I think some of the changes would be PRV vault settings, adding checked valves to vaults, maybe minor things that are already in place. It wouldn't be adding a tank or a pump station or anything to that extreme. It might be just subtle tweaking. I did show a 15% contingency, which is, you know, pretty high. But, you know, I still think even if it's a $4 million project, you know, the savings is less, but there still would be a.
Well, and the savings is based on the current rate we pay Medina. We don't know what the negotiations
we
with
don't know that
Medina
yet.
could come back to. So for $84 a year, you know, I'm thinking we could make that up in a negotiated rate with the
Negotiation.
village.
Yeah. And if it's saving everybody money, I mean.
Yeah, and, you know, again, I'm, you know, here for you guys. I'm giving you, you know, my professional opinion on this, and
Should we get a worked up proposal?
Well, I guess that's what I'm kind of going at. If it's $85 and we're going to spend $17,000 to get more information, that's what I'm trying to determine. How good is this to start with? Do we really want to spend that money if we're talking about $85 of savings?
what I will say is, in order for, I would think, District 13 to be feasible, what I will say is, you could put this main in, do this project first, put it in as transmission main. Later on, overlay the district over top of these mains and include other areas to bring these costs down to everybody, to make District 13 affordable. You can't do District 13 first. That was kind of some of the reason. It was just stalling out because of the amount of grant money that was really required to do it. They were just going long distances with that.
Now, what main are you talking about? Hooking to Royalton?
Well, I'm
Main?
seeing the main on Martin Road.
Oh, okay.
And Sanderson Road. You know,
Yeah.
put that in as a transmission main, you know, and then later on, you could serve the folks. And the main's already installed as part of this capital project, as not part of District 13.
And that would be absorbed by the whole town would absorb.
The entire town would absorb this water system improvement project. District 13 would be responsible for the District 13 improvements down the road. And again, we had started looking at that originally, and you know, our original proposal was 17,000 to do the same, more or less the same exact thing we were doing now. And that's when I told the supervisor, we can't do District 13 without doing these improvements, or it's just not affordable. It's not going anywhere. So, and that's why more or less just cross out District 13 and apply that towards this improvement area project.
So the improvement area, just the people on that route are gonna be paying for it, and not the rest of the town.
So for this particular project with the map, where the purple water mains are, those, in the future, you would overlay those purple areas where those mains on Maple Ridge, Sanderson, a little bit on Martin, that would become part of District 13 later on.
So you're talking Martin Road from Shelby Center out to Bigford Road?
Correct.
Yeah,
And then Sanderson from Shelby Center out to 31A.
right.
Some of those folks already have water. You know, we just need, you know, their small diameter mains, or I know like there's a section on Sanderson Road that's, I think, 4-inch, 2 or 4-inch, you know, so you would just put a properly sized main through there, but they wouldn't become part of the district. But ultimately, you'd do the improvement area first, do that project, then District 13.
Okay, you're, you're talking these two roads. Now, what would be the price for these people on these roads to get this done?
So, since you're not forming a district, there's probably a couple different ways to do it. I mean, you could just charge them as out-of-district users and make up a charge, right? Or you could form the district later on, include other areas that wanted water. You know, there was talk of doing Town Line Road, Hemlock Ridge, you know, filling in some of these other areas that were, you know, in pursuit of water, and just include Sanderson and Martin Road in those equations. And you would have basically the main would be paid for through the improvement area project. So
Well, the way I see it, excuse me, Martin Road, there's probably
there's
3 or 4 houses on there is all.
for purposes of this, we need it hydraulically to get flow across there. So
Yeah.
we do need that. You know, this would be the bare minimum that we would need to make to make it happen from Royalton.
On 4D, where you talk about Maple Ridge Road from Saltworks to Furnace Parkway, an 8-inch water main from Saltworks Road to Furnace Parkway.
Yeah, it should be Charles Street, but sorry.
Same thing, but is there not already a main there for the village of Medina? Isn't that where their main comes down?
So they come across the road and serve that little called subdivision,
Yeah.
and then a couple of houses on Maple Ridge. So we would essentially be connecting at the end of your line on Maple Ridge on the south side, heading to the west around the corner to Saltworks, to loop that. So then they would get fed directly from the Shelby system, not off of the Medina system.
So there's not, I hear you, but I'm having a hard time in my head putting it together. There's not, I just want to make sure we would not be running another line next to a line
Next
that's
to a
already
main.
there.
It would come in, I'm sorry.
Dale, go ahead.
Their transmission main is on the north side of the road. Ours would be on the south.
And
Well-
can you do that? I don't mean physically, are you able, I mean, like,
Yeah.
are you allowed to do that, to put a water main in where there's already another line?
Yeah, we're on two different sides of the road.
Understand, I just don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, you're talking about taking care of, we talked about before, there's 6 houses on 31 that are interested in water. Now, you're talking coming from Saltworks and hit all them 6 houses?
So as part of this water system improvement project, yes, you would
Yeah.
salt works to the end of that main on, you know, it's technically on Maple Ridge.
Yeah.
Loop that, those 6 houses, again, if you want, would become part of District 13.
And Furnace Parkway would be part of that?
Furnace Park, that's an existing district.
No.
So it would end at the existing, you know, where the
Okay.
main is now. Just make a connection.
All right.
So you don't have a cost on Sanderson and Martin Road, you don't have a separate cost on that?
So on the
For the
cost
land.
estimate, I didn't go over the cost estimate, but, so item number, you were asking item 3 and 4 would be those two. One, so Martin Road, would be 7,300 feet and Sanderson Road is 9,100 feet.
Oh,
I
okay.
use $75 per foot for that.
$75 per foot, is that total cost inclusive of everything?
Is that just pipe?
I separated out the gate valves and the hydrants, so
Okay,
that's
all right.
basically pipe and bedding and
Okay.
restoration.
Now that, proposal you sent us, was that, didn't you send us an email proposal on, would you need to change that, or what?
So the proposal I sent you, it was dated February 19th.
Yeah, whenever that was.
So again, the dollar amount was the same. I honestly just changed the scope of work because it went from being a district to the water improvement area, and most of it was overlap of what we would do anyway. So technically, you had authorized it as District 13, so we were already authorized to move ahead. So we had started some of that on District 13, and then it was kind of stalling out, and then that's when we kind of decided to change gears here. And
So when was, the Royalton introduced into this scenario? When was it? Was it at the beginning, or? No, we weren't talking about that at the beginning, were we?
No, again, when we were initially hired, it was really, we were looking at District 13, and there were, I didn't bring it with me, but I think there were 3 parts that we were trying to serve.
Yeah.
And really just serve the entire rest of the town of Shelby. And again, it was $10 million in grant, I mean, it was an enormous amount of grant money that was needed for that. And again, that was stalling out, and then, you know, I was asked to look at this, you know, what is the feasibility of this?
Yeah, how long ago was that you were asked to do this?
Maybe a month ago.
Do you have any experience with doing a system like this?
So this is what I've been doing for 24 years. So I design water systems. That's probably 80% of what I do. I'm heavily involved with Genesee County, bringing more water from Monroe County into Batavia. That's a $153 million project. So yes, in my former life, I've done quite a few districts
So
in
not
Orleans
just water
County.
districts, which clearly would be a smaller project
I-
than turning off water supply from one place and turning it on
Yes.
somewhere else and hoping that everything works like it's supposed to.
Well, if we do our homework correctly, we don't, we would know, we're not hoping. No, I mean, you know, I know what you're saying, but
We hope, you,
I do my homework right, it works, but, and again, that's why I think, you know, now there's something viable there, there's something there if, again, the board wants to pursue that. Again, I'm here for you guys.
Now, you said excuse me, Martin Road and Sanderson Road, that's $75, that's just the pipe, or is that
Again,
just the average connections and all that stuff?
It's a hybrid of the pipe, you know, the bedding, the restoration,
Yeah.
road restoration, things of that sort. I didn't break everything out, you know, separately. You know, it's the $75 is, you know, kind of a hybrid of what we see on other projects.
I come up with like 1.2 million just for them two little.
And if they were standalone projects, it might be higher than that once you figure in bonds and, you know, things of that sort. So, I mean, if you're just looking at the two, you know,
Yeah.
to 2 pipe prices, you know, there's rock excavation likely in there. You know, you got valves and hydrants, so it would be higher than the 1.2.
I don't have anything else for him, but I have other thought. So I would just personally like to see the same presentation from MRB. It's my understanding that Paul Chatfield put in most, if not all, of the water districts here, and I'd just be interested in seeing a comparison between what CPL is suggesting and what they would suggest.
I think a second opinion is warranted, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let me ask you this, Jason. If you did a study from 2019 and were asked to come back in and explain that study, would you do that? If it was 7 years old? Or would you want to redo another study?
I mean, they may want to do their own study because, again, the pressures are different. So the fire flows, the fire flows that they took in 2019 are slightly different than what we took last week, just because there's a higher pressure. So, you know, the information that they started with was probably accurate at the time, not doubting that, and their analysis was probably accurate because they had different information. So what they were proposing probably is not wrong. It would work at the time with the pump station and the tank. You know, that was a $5.4 million project, but that's not the same situation now.
And I'm not suggesting that
Yeah.
they present the same study. I'm suggesting that we have them come in and give us a quote to do the same work that CPL is doing, and see if their presentation, if they believe that they would do the same, they get the same understanding on what they know today. No, they shouldn't. To come in and do a presentation? Are we paying them to do it? Yeah, so, no, I would think they'd come.
Well, it depends
Oh,
what
if they want, yeah,
what
if
they come
they're
up
gonna
with.
if they're gonna go back and do a study like this and
Just like
retest,
that,
sure, they're gonna,
Comparable.
yeah, they might charge the same thing CPL is, but I'm curious to see if, based on the new information of what the flow rates that Jason is talking about, do they agree that they could cut things out, and if so, then, you know, what would they charge us to do the study? I mean, just because they have for me personally, they have a history, so I'd be curious what their.
You guys got any other questions for Jason? Thanks, Jason. I guess we can, does everyone want to do that? Want to get a quote from MRB? You want to handle that, Linda?
I will.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Board comments. Mr. Schiffer. Ed?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Did we get bids for the building, painting on the building? I know we're gonna be doing that. It was like something up towards the 40,000. Was there bids put out?
Dale?
bids were asked. A couple years ago, we got one respondent, and it was, without going back to the office, I believe it was $42,000 to paint the outside of the building. Nobody else seemed interested in it.
Wasn't that last summer?
I think it was 2 summers ago. It was not last summer. I think it was the summer before.
Who responded, Dale? Was it
Panic
Panic?
Coatings.
I thought that was last year.
Are they willing to do it for the same
I
money?
can check the date on them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're willing to do it for that same money after 2 years?
Probably not.
No. Yeah, probably not. No.
Thanks, Al. You good, Ed?
Also, I tried to contact National Grid regarding the lighting, and I haven't got any response yet, so I'm gonna keep on calling her.
Actually, we got, Miranda, you wanna come up? I think we just got a thing from them.
We got a rebate check already from them. And the last bill went down from 1,600 to 748.
That's about 50%, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
And one last thing, the status on, the ARPA funds, all the receipts and what's been spent on.
Okay, what about it?
Well, I asked for the receipts and,
That was on the table last month, you didn't look at it.
No, we didn't see
Not
it.
my fault.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing
we didn't see it.
It was on the table where the stuff always is. We'll put it out again if you wanna look
Yeah,
at it.
I don't remember seeing that.
And everything that the ARPA has been spent on, you were on the board to vote for it.
Yeah.
So you should know all that stuff. You should have copies of all that stuff. But I will provide it for you again. I got no problem doing that.
I didn't see it,
just-
so it's just nice to see,
No, I didn't say that, but we didn't see it, so. That's all I got.
yeah, I'd like to suggest or motion that we bid out our auditing firm. Yeah, Allied, I'd like to bid out getting our annual audit because the delay in getting the response from them, I mean, we're 13 months now past the end of 2022 with no report yet. I know you said that was done, but we still don't have it. It's just, you must have like just sent it. At what time? Because I checked my email at like 3 this afternoon and it wasn't there. Okay, so even we're March 12th and the audit is for December of 2022. That's just way too long to wait. That may be, but again, I go back to, I don't care what the state necessarily says as opposed to, it's hard to manage things if you don't have the financial information, and it shouldn't take that long. And so I don't see the harm in seeing if there's another firm out there that can get it done in a more timely, and according to the training that we received in Rochester, if we as a board do not look at the numbers by January 20th, then we are supposed to have a CPA firm have the audit completed by 60 days after year end. I'm not talking about the numbers you supplied to New York State. I'm talking about an annual audit to the board. Kathy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 60 days after, which would take us roughly to March 1st. We are a year late on. So I just would like to see if we have another firm that would be interested in taking the business and what their quote would be.
I guess one thing to add to that, are we gonna request them to come in and, go over the audits?
I'm going to make that request.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I did want to, if I can, comment to Karen. So the reason that we don't have to have the board review the supervisor's books is because we do have an independent CPA firm come in. And that allows the board not to have to do that because the board isn't always qualified to do the type of audit that a CPA firm would do. But that firm is supposed to have that audit complete by 60 days after year end.
It's my understanding, and this isn't an excuse, and I agree, it's been a concern of mine as well. It's my understanding that they had some individuals leave, right, and they just couldn't. Sorry, and they just couldn't keep up with the flow of work. It shouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, it did. The supervisor will tell you I've been pressing him to press the firm to get it done. And I also plan on requesting that they come in and present it because I feel that that is very important for them to do. So I do plan on making that request this week for the 2022 audit. And when the 2023 audit is done, I will make that request again. I feel that that is very important.
So I'm making a motion to bid out our CPA firm.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hold on. Trying to find an accounting firm that will take on a municipality is next to impossible. And me personally, I'm fine with that, because I do all the local towns in the area. So,
I know there are firms in Buffalo that do it. I just don't see where it hurts to put a bid out there. If we don't get a bid, we don't get one. But if we do, we have an option.
I'm not so sure that I'm for looking at a different firm, because we have been using Allied, but I guess that if, we could get a price on it or something of that nature, I don't have an issue with that.
yeah, we can get a bid on it, then we can vote on it if you want to. Okay, all in favor of advertising for bids? All in favor for advertising for bids, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carried.
I think Darlene she posted on the website, right? Is that where, okay, so can we just get her to do it by the end of, because you definitely want to, if we're going to change, you want to get that done so that they have plenty of time to schedule us if we did change, so that they're completed by the end of February next year.
Technically, I don't think you need to bid for it because it's a service like your engineer and your attorney. But yes, we can come up with a request for proposals.
That's what I guess I should have said that. And
A request for proposals.
And I'll send you a copy of one that the village provided a year ago when they were doing the same thing. So I'll send you their example.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, Linda?
No, that's it for me.
Anything?
No, I'm all set.
Public comments, John Pratt.
Got a couple of comments here. Dale mentioned that he was out cleaning up the road shoulders and stuff, and we had a road shoulder put down in front of our house, and they used millings. They rolled it down, looked good, didn't stick. It's blown all over the place. And I happened to talk to a county highway superintendent, I guess that's the proper term for him, of another county ways away. And he more or less said on road millings that they're easy to come by, but they ain't worth a damn for compaction unless you put extra oil with them. And I happened to talk to him after I start seeing shoulders getting eroded by our house there. And if it was properly road shoulder was good road shoulder, he wouldn't have to clean up a lot of the mess on the road shoulders. And the next question is for Jason. This, or not Jason, the water line, that wasn't connected from, the water line wasn't connected from Bigford to East Shelby at all. It just came from Bigford to Sanderson via along the creek, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking. The end of Bigford.
Right here. That's what you're putting in. There's no water up here.
Correct. This end of Martin Road.
Mm-hmm. And this, and as we even talked about, we're down there out of water. That be interesting to add that would also loop the East Shelby Road to the Bigford Road. That's about all I've got today.
Karen Jones.
Good evening again. First of all, on behalf of 247 people that have already signed the petition, some of us have been passing around Medina and Shelby and Ridgeway. So 161 signatures from Shelby alone. Thank you for your vote tonight, all of you, declining to rezone for the industrial wind giant Borrego New Leaf. And I think that's very meaningful to a lot of us who feel very, very strongly about that. So first, thank you so much for that vote. It's not a very rowdy meeting, but it's a rowdy thank you, at least my heart. So the other thing, thank you for the conversations tonight that you're having and the listening that's going on. I think a lot of us appreciate that you're hearing us when we say that it is not an attack to say we'd like to see some numbers. I think you would as well. And all of you, again, thank you for that vote to say, let's look at another firm, let's just see what's available and go from there. I don't know about the firm that spoke tonight and their qualifications. I do thank them for their time. And I'm hoping that they perhaps have what is something I hope the board will consider, which is when it comes to spending money on something that we might do that costs a lot, please, especially with something like a June deadline, consider hiring a grant writer. Consider looking for a freelance grant writer that is not even necessarily affiliated. Perhaps even Mrs. Bennett is a grant writer. I don't know if that's in your curriculum vitae, but if it is, then we already have somebody on staff. And that to me is the biggest question is money. How do you pay for it? And if you just hope it will appear, I'm not a grant writer, and I don't know if any of you are, it's got to be part of your planning to say we need someone who's going to actually find the money and say, here's this $1 billion, instead of hoping it will appear, because it won't. But if you are going to spend $17,000 on a grant or on an engineer, then start with that firm and MLB. I looked them up, and I know MRB, I'm sorry. They do have grant writers on staff. I don't know if this agency that spoke tonight does, and I don't want to speak for them, but it's a question that could save Shelby a lot of money. And everybody loves to say the word grant, but none of us know how to, I don't know how to write them. Anyway, thank you.
Karen. Barb DeLuzio.
I also want to thank everyone on the board for not approving the wind overlay district from Borrego. I have a question though. I believe Borrego was going to speak at, or be here at the April meeting, will they still be? Will they still be doing a presentation at the April board meeting? Okay, after they receive their letter. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
I want to thank you too for putting a halt to that, the windmill deal there, holding them up. First question about the work sessions. We had a work session here last Wednesday, which I thought went great, and you proposed to have them every quarter. I don't agree with that, and I probably can get the majority of the people here. We have too much coming down the pipe with the stamp plant, the water project, the windmills. There's a lot to talk about, and I figure, I'm looking at it, we don't want to do it once a quarter, and that's not enough. We can't let nobody get ahead of us on this stuff. So I'm proposing, I would like to see one every month, because that's the way it used to be. We have one every month and we have our meeting. So I'm bringing it to the board. I would like a work session once a month. I don't know how everybody feel here. I thought we had a good one over here last week. It was productive, people listened, got out of it. So, I mean, I'm pushing for a work session every month, like we used to do. Answer that or vote on it or what, but I would like to have one next month and the month after, because we need to stay on top of this stuff. And with the water project going, we talked about it at the work session. Is there any way that we can have a PowerPoint? I mean, we're sitting here, everybody's sitting here, Sanderson Road, Bigford Road, Martin Road, you know, all these different roads coming out of over here, Mountain Road. There's got to be a map or something that we all could be looking at when you're talking to this. I mean, because people are sitting here, some of them don't know the roads. Oh, no, I'm just saying, that's great. So if we can get some, no, but we're going in the right direction. Have something up there so everybody can look at it. Eddie brought up in the work session about Furnace Parkway, about taking care of the medium up there. How is that going through? Is that a done deal, or is that going to be talked about tonight? Okay. The other thing, Dale, we're doing a lot of digging up ditches. I'd like you and Scott to come up and take a look at the west end of Furnace Parkway. It's nothing but ditch there. Are we going to put a pipe in there, fill that in like the rest of the parkway, so we're not pulling lawnmowers out of there? Because I'll pull you guys out when you guys get stuck. I'll bring the tractor over because I know you're going to get stuck. Because Danny Metz and I would get stuck umpteen times in the spring and in the fall. But I'm just something that maybe you guys can come up and look at. You got all this extra dirt. Maybe truck it up there and put a pipe in.
We have looked at it.
Okay.
I don't have a plan yet.
Okay. Now my next thing is where that water goes. You know where that water goes. It goes right into my side lot. And I'm flooded out till June, July. And I would like that looked at too. Because all along the back of Furnace Parkway, there is a pipe that runs all along there. And it'd be nothing for you to dig up and hook right into it. And that was done back, not Shalal, but Art Hill did it years ago. So there is a pipe running between 31, all them houses, and Furnace Parkway that can hook up, because I'm just tired of ruining my lawnmowers running in there. I cut through the water. And if I don't keep up on it, I'm baling hay. So I'm just, I have that looked at. Now, another thing on this water project. On we got District 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many. Like my fee is $85 every 3 months. And it was a 39-year grant. So that's coming up in 7 years. Now, is that I mean, you're figuring all these figures in for these people. Is that on top of what they're gonna be paying, or is that in this price?
So when we did our calculations, we just assumed the fee was gonna be collected in the water rate as opposed to a separate debt service. Then it gets complicated trying to charge each district, because there's 12 districts.
Okay.
So that's why it would be simpler just to put it into the water rate, and that was the $2.41.
Okay.
Again, a lot of what ifs with
Right.
depending on the grant money, but
But I just didn't want that to get lost.
No, no,
And
it
this,
would-
and then
and then we
surprise,
have-
you're gonna have to pay $80 or $90 on top of your water bill for whatever, like we are.
so your debt service for your district would not change. That would
Okay.
stay the same. What would change is the water rate component would, again, if you went with Royalton, it would go down.
And that's all gonna be in the price that you
So
guys are
basically
working in.
The gist of it was, the offset in the water rate was paying for the capital cost to do the
Okay.
project. And then some.
Okay, I mean, it's not affecting me, it's
Yeah,
affecting a
so-
lot of these other people.
Yep.
And I just want them to be aware of what we're paying.
There was a, the $84.
Okay, no,
that
just
was
as
the
long
same.
as that was in there, I just we'll go from there. And while we're talking about that, how do we go about up on Furnace Parkway and these people along 31? It just come to my mind while we're talking to it. I pay that on my every 3 months on my water bill. You go to Shelby, Niagara County, Ridgeway, that's all in their taxes. And I fought for this years ago and didn't get no headway on it, but it's $300 and something that can go on my taxes, not my water bill. How do we go about getting that switched? Because everybody, Ridgeway, it's on their water bill. It's on their taxes, it's not on their water bill. My brother over here and just over the line here in Niagara County, that's on his taxes. He gets his water bill and then that $350 a year goes on the taxes. Oh, okay, that's it. Okay, thank you.
Lawrence Water, Shelby Center. Just did some quick math. You kind of answered the question there. MRB's approach was to bill basically every meter throughout all the districts for the cost of the bond. And you were talking in regards somewhere around $220,000 over roughly 758 meters divided amongst 4 bills a year is about $72 a month on top of my service fee and then the actual cost of the water usage. So that's just me doing quick math. I'm all for getting people water that don't have it. However, I'm hesitant to believe that a grant that we would get a grant based on our desire to get our water from a different source. That to me that sounds like a want, not a need. So I'm just hesitant to believe that we'd be successful in securing a grant as opposed to getting water to people that don't have it. Coming up this weekend, I brought this up this time last year. We had some good weather, a couple of days, and that prompted people to set their lawns on fire. We got a burn ban coming up, and I know this is it's a DEC thing. Again, I'm just asking for better communication, and maybe that would include what the consequence of that would be if somebody just continues to burn plastic and tires and kitchen waste and what have you. It's very difficult in the hamlet to tolerate that to the point where you have to shut your windows. The first time you can open your windows, it's nice, getting some fresh air, and then, in comes the smoke. So I'm not sure where that falls in regards to the town or the board, if it's a planning board thing or a zoning thing or the fire marshal. would appreciate a little more information on that. I did see the TVs up here, and if you recall, I was asking for some sort of projector. So I'm glad to see we're doing something with that. We did, not we, the board mentioned an open house, having an open house. Again, I have mixed feelings about that. I think one thing that that wasn't discussed is refreshments, chips, drinks, food. You know, people tend to come to these venues if you feed them. If you don't, I'm not sure that that's going to be a good use of everybody's time. Again, that's just my opinion. And then finally, you approve the special meeting about the highway trailer, and I'm just wondering, did we get Dale his trailer, or did we not get Dale his trailer? I think the man needs. That's all I have. Thanks.
Attending the meeting that we had the other night, thank you for having that. It was interesting, and in that meeting, the discussion came up about how much water you were losing every month, how much you're using for flushing, how much water is lost due to leaks. And just to comment on, last year when we first, in fact, actually put $150,000 into the budget because to get water from Royalton was going to be putting a pipe under the road and turning a valve. Now we have an initial quote of well over $3 million. It seems to me that the money we could do a lot more with getting rid of the leaks, maybe addressing the flushing problem by getting the loops in, renegotiating rates with Medina, and look at getting even a flushing rate. That seems to me a lot easier, a lot less costly. I mean, it's nice to think about saving money for everybody on the water bill, but unless you get a 0%, loan on this thing or grant, it doesn't look feasible because it's not $150,000, and it's not as easy as it was originally presented. So maybe there's other alternatives that could, in fact, save as much money as you're going to save by putting in a whole new process and getting water from a different source. So just some ideas. Thanks.
Sure, give me the crappy one.
At least yours didn't keep going off.
Okay, and there you go. Now you can hear me. The old supervisor and Steve tried to negotiate flush water rates from Medina. They said they didn't want nothing to do with it. So we are, Schiffer and I are in negotiations with Medina for water rates and trying to reduce stuff. I asked Dale the other day to see if there's a company that we can contract with to run all our water lines, see if they can find the leaks. So that was on that. Larry, DEC's responsible for that, but when Dan gets back next month, I'll ask him about the reporting on the burning. We will put it on Facebook and the website about the burn ban. It's on Facebook already? Okay. We'll be up, maybe not this week. I got training all day tomorrow and Thursday. But I'll get with Dale. We'll come up and look at your place, check that out. Probably won't be this week unless I can get away Friday. Yeah, we did the Borrego thing tonight. We'll see where that leads. So, we can only try. Have anything else? Ed?
One thing, I've been contacted by a few people in the town, and they've requested to have their planning board meetings on YouTube. And I wonder if that could happen or not. Maybe we could find somebody. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. I'll get with, figure it out. Linda?
Nope, I'm good.
Steve?
I'm all set.
Jeff? Can I get a motion to adjourn? You did not sign up for public speaking, and I responded to you. Did I not? I've got a return receipt that you got it. Oh, I'll read my responses to you. I'll read them both. I did respond to this. I did respond to this. And I responded to the lawyer first to make sure she was okay with what I responded to you. In regards to last month's meeting in reference to going into executive session and a board member raising the question of hearing around town about audio-visual cameras in the building. You, Supervisor Wangwitz, said there is just one audio-visual camera at the clerk's counter, which brings me to the following questions. What is the reason behind having an audio-visual camera at the clerk's counter? My answer was the town clerk specifically asked for an audio-video camera while having a discussion about the security wall, as witnessed by the deputy clerk. The town clerk's reason was that it was additional security for her when she was alone. Question number 2, how long has the audio-visual camera been there? My answer, the new camera was ordered and it was replaced summer of 2023, the outdated camera that was installed in 2016. The purchase was approved by the town board, of which your husband, John, was a board member and voted. Question number 3, did the clerk know the camera audio was placed there? If not, why? My answer, as stated above, the town clerk requested the audio-visual camera numerous times, twice from the security contractor and once from myself. Question number 4, at the workshop Wednesday night, I noticed 2 large monitors on the supervisor's desk. Are these monitors being used to view the footage of the security recordings and to listen to the audio? If so, who is authorized to watch and listen to the recordings, and is it done privately? My answer, the monitors you saw were computer monitors attached to the supervisor's computer for performing daily duties. The security system is not in the supervisor's office. Your next statement, with personal information needed on some documents, I don't believe there should be any audio-visual cameras at or near the clerk deputy counter. It is the expectation of the public that their information is kept private and confidential, and that the use of audio-visual camera seems to be a violation of their rights and invasion of their privacy. My response, these security cameras have been in place throughout the town hall since they were originally installed approximately in 2016. These cameras are in place for the employees' protection and building security. There are posted signs as you enter the building as required by law. All licenses and permits are public records. All tax bills and payments are public records. Water bills and payments are public records. They can all be foiled. Those are my responses. That was the whole thing. Okay. Yes. If we have something to go on. If I'll talk with the board on it. I'll let you know. Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're adjourned. Say what? Sure, I can sign your stuff. Actually, I could have a lawyer sign your stuff and it'd be official. Get the stamp of approval. And I think aren't you a state champion or something?
Me?
Yes.
A state champion?